Good morning, Open Heart, and welcome to this Sunday, September the 13th, 2020. Thank you for joining us for our live stream celebration. I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you. I'm so appreciative for all of your support, for in the many ways in which you continue to help the message of Open Heart to be shared, for the many different ways in which we continue to connect as a community and to support one another and to get the words and the messages and just the awareness of our New Thought, Ancient Wisdom community, that we can help to make a difference in this world.
The daily affirmation: imminent power. The power within me blesses all humankind and is forever healing all with whom I come in contact. The power within me is God, and it blesses and heals all who come near it. Silently, the work goes on, and silently, all are being helped by this inner power which is operating through me. I will give thanks that my power within is silently blessing and helping everyone to whom my thought reaches. The life within me blesses all humankind.
On this sacred morning, at this time of celebration, we call in all beings of love and light to join us in this sacred space. We call in our most sacred self to be at one, connecting with all that we truly are, and invocating and evocating the truth of our divinity. We are whole, perfect, and complete.
are our announcements for this Sunday, September the 13th, 2020. We want to say happy birthday to all of our September babies. Congratulations on another year rotation around the sun. To Britannia, Mary, Joy, Erlene, Kinley, Eric, Lazora, and Cedric. Happy birthday to each and every one of you. We remember in our prayers members of our Open Heart family, to the Lee family, the Gilmore family. I do ask for prayers for my mother, Yvonne Gilmore, who's in the hospital in North Carolina, the Joyner family, Mary Kirkland, Gail Hunter, Renee Crone, Daryl Lowe, Kathy Kirk, and Vanessa McVeigh, who recently experienced a transition of her grandmother. We're running down to the wire, the deadline for the Census 2020. If you've not already participated in the census, I urge that you do. The deadline is September 30th. The census influences how much of the money and the resources are allocated and spent in this country. And unfortunately, this year, I'm seeing reports of there being a lot of people that have not responded, and there are a lot of reasons why that is, but don't let that be a reason why you don't respond. Go to 2020census.gov today if you have not, and respond. Tuesdays at 12:30 p.m. is the time and the day for our Midday Love Grid meditation led by Britannia Allen. At our website, you can enter the meditation room there. Start or continue your day with meditation. On Thursdays is our Open Heart Thursday Connection, a virtual gathering where we can see and have a virtual kind of fellowship with one another. It also is available by going to our website at ohsc901.com. And I'm here again reminding you, if you'd like to contribute to the celebration through an affirmative reading, to record yourself doing so and send that video to jgilmore at openheartspiritual.org. And where would we be without prayer? Prayer being a very important aspect of our life, very important aspect of our spiritual growth and awareness. And every day at 8 a.m. Central Time, we have our daily affirmative prayer call where members of our prayer team provide you with an inspirational reading and a prayer. And all you have to do is to call 901-586-8755 to begin your day with prayer.
Today's affirmative reading comes from motivationping.com. They have several different affirmations for different things, and I'm just going to read some of them. Affirmations to build self-confidence. I believe in myself. I am strong, smart, and successful. I am harnessing my inner peace and power. I am capable and confident. I can do anything I put my mind to. Affirmations to face your fears. I am fearless and strong. In the eye of the storm, I remain calm. I cast out all my fears and accept change. I choose to breathe, trust, and let go. I am growing outside of my comfort zone. I am growing outside of my comfort zone. I am up for the challenge. And finally, affirmations to stay motivated. My passions are my calling. I focus on the beautiful, synchronistic parts of my life. What I am doing today is getting me closer to my goals. I stand strong in my beliefs and dreams. I feel strong and empowered to continue moving forward. And so it is.
What is inner power? This morning I want to approach things from a little slightly different side than maybe I don't necessarily delve into a lot, but assume some things. I know that it's easy to use words and phrases such as imminent. A couple people told me that they had to look up that definition. Imminent is the thing we're using for the month is imminent power. They had to look up imminent, and as an educator, I say, you're welcome. We talk about your inner power, talk about turning within, talking about the mind of God is your mind, the life of God is your life. Talk about that all that is, and all of the things that oftentimes you hear in New Thought Ancient Wisdom circles. But what does it mean? A number of years ago, I traveled to Tuskegee University in Alabama. Tuskegee, a historically black college and university that's well known as being the place where Dr. George Washington Carver, the noted scientist, did much of his work on studying the peanut and developing hundreds of ways of how to use it. And as I was driving there, I was listening to my music in my car, and at a certain point, just as I had gotten close to the university and I was driving through some fields and farmland, all of a sudden there was an urge within me that said to cut off the music. I cut the music off and I rolled the windows down on my car, and I started to hear something. I started to sense and feel something that at that time I couldn't quite explain it, couldn't quite know why I had the compulsion to stop the car, but I did. I pulled the car over to the side of the road and I got out and I walked around and I looked around in the fields and I saw the plants growing, the crops that farmers were raising growing. I looked at the trees and I looked at the grass in the field and all of the setting around me and the sounds around me. And there was another sound that I began to hear. And that sound, the only way I could describe it, the only vocabulary that I could have was it was as if those aspects of nature, the crops, the trees, the plants, and all of that was singing a song of joy. And at the time I said that it was praising God. It was just something that I'd never experienced before, but something that had a profound difference on me, made a profound difference on me, and made a profound change. It was a wonderful experience. And then shortly after that, I became one of the ministers in Memphis long before many others to take a public stance in support of and to affirm those in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. I went public with that, and I talked about that. I attended a few programs about that and made that a part of what it is that I do. And I remember a colleague asking me, why did I do that? What caused me and led me to that? And I told him simply because I had a dream. And in that dream, it compelled me to say that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do. And he said to me, you mystic, you. And I had to look that one up. But as I saw that and I began to understand a mystic being a person who has a direct experience or a direct encounter with the divine, with all of that. And I'm not sharing these stories to glorify myself, but to demonstrate that in the move to organize and establish Openheartspiritual Center, it was based on experiences of there being something more, something beyond the traditional rhetoric and the traditional dogma and doctrine and all of those things, but there was something more to life, that there was something about a connection, about a relationship, about something metaphysical, the word metaphysical, and we call ourselves a metaphysical place. Metaphysical meaning beyond the physical world, beyond those things that we can see, taste, touch, hear, smell, but beyond those senses, something that is greater, something that is more than what we're oftentimes used to. It's why we call ourselves a New Thought Ancient Wisdom community. It's why Open Heart is more than just a nice place to be with nice people and nice music and unusual ways of doing things, so unusual that it's led people at Open Heart many times to say, only at Open Heart. Those things are wonderful. I appreciate those things about ourselves, but it's more than that. It goes beyond that. It's something that resonates. I like the expression, in religion we call it spirits. In science we call it energy. In the streets we call it vibes. All I'm saying is trust it. Whether you recognize it or not, something's calling you. Something continues to call me. Something continues to call all of us. The theologian and mystic Howard Thurman said there's a strength beyond our strength that gives strength to our strength. That this teaching, this way of understanding, this as going back to George Washington Carver called it, nature being God's unlimited broadcasting system, in which God speaks to us every hour if we only tune in, that when we do that, it changes how we perceive the world. When you hear in this teaching, change your thinking, change your life, what we're really saying is how we see things determines our experience. How we see things and how we term them, how we frame them, then influences how we live our lives, how we experience life, how we do the things it is that we do. I shared with you in a previous message how when I reached a low point in my life that I took an index card and wrote down 10 positive things about myself and continued to affirm and say those things daily, twice a day, until I got to the point where I believed those things. And as I look at that experience, as I look at that period in my life, one thing that I began to understand and to recognize and to realize that had I not gone through that experience, had I not come through what it was that I was experiencing at the time, what was challenging me, what had me in that place where I felt so downtrodden and all of that, if I had not come through that, I wouldn't have made the move here to Memphis, and I never would have gotten the courage and the understanding and the innovation and the spark to start Openheartspiritual Center. And we wouldn't be here today had it not been for those things. To understand that sometimes those things that we think are the worst things that could ever happen to us turn out to be some of the best things. They turn out to be things from which we grow, from which we develop and evolve. I heard Francisco Alvarez, a religious science minister, say, don't pick fights with old wounds. The only one you will be battling is yourself. This also changes how we see others. I see people who spend so much time trying to change other people so they'll feel good. How they don't agree with people's lifestyles, they don't agree with their views, they don't agree with how they do things, they don't agree with their approach to life, and they spend time and energy trying to change those people, trying to change what it is they do and how it is that they live, and they find themselves depleting all of their inner resources because what they're doing is making themselves miserable about someone else. And I think that this is important in this day and time, that particularly as we move into this political season where there's so many competing voices and so many divisive voices. And I continue to look at those things and continue to hear people saying things. And I think to myself, when we spend so much time trying to change people who are so firmly enmeshed and so firmly entrenched in their own political views and ideas in the same way that we are, is there really any point? I'm not saying that we don't try to make people aware of things, we don't try to raise the issues, but when those people that are so firmly entrenched in how they believe, what good does it do to waste our time and to spend all of our energy trying to change people and to do things? I spent an exercise recently where I sat down and I gave thanks to those people who are challenging people in my life. I said thank you to them silently as I went down the list and I went down the things that sometimes cause problems for me, and said thank you for helping me to grow. Thank you for helping me to understand. At the University of Memphis, I teach anthropology religion course, And there was a student of mine who used to like to come after class and tell me and brag about how he'd gotten in an argument with this fundamentalist this and this fundamentalist that, and he would go on and on and on. And I would ask him after he described the argument, I said, well, who won? He said, what do you mean who won? I said, well, did that person go away changing their thinking about the way that they view religion and they view the world? And he said, well, not really. Did that person change you? Well, not really. And ultimately I said, well, what's the point? What is the point? That when we come from different backgrounds and circumstances and all of those things, all of what we see out there that are making the differences that we often perceive, I'm reminded of the Sufi mystic Rumi, who said these words: we must remember that we're all just walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home. This is what our inner power is. This is what it is. It's about us recognizing that there's something within us that allows us to see the world differently, that empowers us to see situations and circumstances and people in a different light, and to live from a place not where we feel victimized, not where we feel like we are being pressed down, but a place of power, a place where we can truly make a difference and we can do things. It's about being and touching that place within where we have that encounter with the divine, with all that is. I think about this story, the description in Exodus, the 34th chapter, where it describes Moses being on Mount Sinai, and there he received the tablets on which what we call now the 10 Commandments were there, that particular story. And a part of that story, it describes that when Moses descended down from the mountain, the people were so in awe of him, because it talked about that his face shone. It shone brightly. There are many different interpretations of that and what the Hebrew said. Some said that he had horns on his head, but ultimately what that word horn really means is rays of light. There was something that happened to him that transformed him, that changed him. And from a metaphysical standpoint, what this story is talking about, a metaphysical interpretation, is having mountains, about being in that place where we have an exalted state of mind, where a divine plan is revealed. That in this understanding of our power, we begin to experience something that changes our minds, that changes our perspective, that changes our understanding, that changes our perspective, that changes who we are, that transforms us and allows us to see differently. I think it's what Ricky Byers had in mind when she sings the words of the song, and we sing it at Open Heart too. From within, I let my heart begin to see eternity. From within, now I can begin to see the face of God. The face of God is all I see, and the face of God is all I am, ever present, all around me, ever present. It's within. Years ago, when my daughter was young, was little, she liked to watch the television show Rugrats. It was a cartoon that had these kids who saw things. It was about seeing the world from their point of view, from a child's point of view. I liked watching it with her, I'll be honest. And in that cartoon, there was a character by the name of Chucky Finster. And Chucky had an unusual way very often of dealing with the world. And there was a particular episode in which Chucky decided he was going to become a butterfly. And so he first off read about butterflies and understood that butterflies are caterpillars, and they emerge from a cocoon and gain their wings, and they begin to fly. So the first thing that Chucky did was, after making some butterfly wings, he rolled himself up in a blanket, and that was his cocoon. And he spent some time in the cocoon, and then after that, he burst out of that blanket, and he docked his wings, and he started to fly around his yard like a butterfly, and he was showing off to his friends, and he was saying that he was a butterfly, and in his mind and in his imagination, he saw himself flying and floating around like a butterfly, and at the end of the cartoon, his friends were discussing him, and they said, well, Chucky says that he became a butterfly, that he was a caterpillar, and from that he grew to be a butterfly. And the kids looked at one another. They said, well, do you believe he was a butterfly? And they said, I don't know. And the other said, do you believe he was a butterfly? The other one said, I don't know. And then finally, one of them said, well, I don't know whether he became a butterfly or not. But what I do know is something about him has changed. Something about him is now different. When you embrace and understand your inner power, you become different. We become different. Something in us changes. Something in us transforms. Something in us becomes greater and more powerful than all the circumstances and situations in which we find ourselves. When we claim our inner power and touch that, when we understand that from within, the encounter with God, the face of God, the awareness of God, the presence of God, the power of God is in that place. When we claim that and touch that, and we stand in the midst of circumstances and understand in our truth that all that is within us, is dwelling within us and guiding us and directing us, that's when we understand and we can claim inner power. Remember as we do so. Remember as we move forward in these next few months. Remember what we have in the weeks that lie ahead. Remember, claim your inner power, Hold on to your inner power. And remember, we're all just walking each other home. And so it is. Namaste. Infinite prosperity is mine to share. Thank you so much for your support of us through your conscious giving. We know that times can be uncertain, but you continue to support Open Heart, and it is truly appreciated. You can do so via our app. You can do so online or text the word GIVE to 615-422-4292. Thanks again.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know that the grace of God was sufficient, and I didn't know that the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling to make it through another day, you got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God.
God's work is mighty and marvelous. God increases our lives every day, and my soul magnifies the Lord. Yes, God's love redefines my existence. Yes, God's peace resurrects my life. Oh yes, God's joy, well, it's lifting me. It's lifting me. It's lifting me up. God's joy, oh yes, said it's lifting me, lifting me up. See, God's just to let the Lord let it build the house and don't labor, don't labor.